So if you read Genesis 1 and you read Revelation, the end of Revelation, and you see the new heaven and the new earth, it's just really neat to compare the two. And it's interesting that the first two chapters of the Bible and the last two chapters of the Bible are the only chapters in the Bible that convey a sinless environment, because one is before sin existed and one is after sin is finally dealt with completely. But what you'll notice is that God creates night, or He creates this universe, and then He separates the light from the dark, as I've talked about. But there's darkness, there's nighttime in our current heaven and earth. But in the new heaven and earth, there'll be no more night. And then you notice that there's seas and oceans in this current earth, but there will be no sea in the new heaven, well, in the new earth. And that's just really interesting, isn't it? And I think the reason it's there is to convey something to us, because there's so much symbolism in night and in sea. And like we've already talked about, God knew sin was coming, right? The sea and the night is not in itself evil, but I think it is a great picture of something that is not going to be in the new earth. And that is that darkness and the sea can really convey depression and fear and sadness and hopelessness, because those are just great allegories for those things. And those things will not be in the new heaven and the new earth. Isn't that awesome? That we are going to be in a place one day, if we trust in Jesus. Because if you don't, then you don't get to go where He's leading humanity. If you don't trust Him, He's not going to make you go. And you're just going to have to be left out of the new earth. But there will be no fear, no depression, no hopelessness. Right now we're fighting those things. For me, I'm fighting depression and fighting fear and fighting hopelessness, and how I fight it is with Jesus, with knowing Him. He's the light of the world, so He fights the night, and He is a rock, that I can hold on to instead of getting swept away into the seas, right? And even the Bible says that somebody that's double-minded, that doesn't trust God, they're like someone who's being tossed to and fro by the ocean. But I just think that's great symbolism, isn't it? And so I just want to encourage you that Jesus is the light of the world. We've already talked about that, but think of it also as the ocean, that He can help you walk on water. Right now, it is so easy to just be swept away with fear and depression and hopelessness. But, He wants you to live in such a way that you're not being drowned by that. And then I want you to just have the hope and the joy of the new earth, where there will be no more night and there will be no more sea. There'll be something, because I love aquatic creatures, and I love the ocean. So there'll be absolutely something we can enjoy that just feeds that interest we have, those of us who are interested in the ocean. But hey, go to Jesus. You can already experience a life of no fear, no depression, no hopelessness, because Jesus is the light, Jesus is the rock.